you get around people who are creative, you will start creating. As far as with creativity, I don't believe creativity is a feeling. I don't have to feel creative. Creativity is actually inside of me. I get to access whenever I want it.
Jump, you're ready now. Jump, the sky's the limit. Jump, jump, jump. Leave it all behind and jump. Just go for it. Jump, if you can dream it. Jump, jump, jump. Together we can do all things.
Hey guys, welcome to Jump one more time. And today I have this tremendous guest, Elliott Schweickert, and he is talking with us from Virginia. And one of my very dear best friends, Julie Farino, she introduced me to Elliott. And I asked Julie, do you know anyone that I think I should interview, bring to the Jump podcast? And Julie said, for sure, there's one person that I know will be incredible is Elliott. So I'm excited to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here.
Awesome.
Yay.
I love inspired stories. I think the stories heal us. I think the stories teach us and really does something inside of us that really can deeply change us. And I would like to invite you, Elliott, to take us back to your story. Can you share with us your story?
Well, thank you so much, Rebecca, first of all, for having me. I love your podcast. I've been anticipating this, listening to everyone. You have an amazing people on your podcast, and it's an honor to be here. Let me see. Where should I start? I guess, I grew up most of my life in Ukraine. So, I actually was born in a little country in Europe called Moldova, but I grew up in Ukraine at a young age. I had to move with my dad. My mom passed away at a young age, and I had to move to Ukraine. And I spent in Ukraine about 16 years of my life, and unfortunately, my father passed away shortly after we arrived in Ukraine, and my sister and I ended up homeless, ended up on the street for a while, and just surviving. And we ended up at the age of 7. I was 7, and my sister was 9, in an orphanage. So I spent 10 years in an orphanage, and and that was kind of my life. To be honest, when I got to the orphanage, I was really happy. It sounds strange, but I was really happy because, of course, what is the alternative? It was streets. So, and the little fun fact about me, my dad was actually a gypsy. So for those of you for your listeners don't know what gypsy is, the word gypsy literally means a person without a country, and it's actually a culture, part of the culture in this group of people. It's not actual ethnicity. A lot of people think it's ethnicity, but it's actually not. It's just a culture. Anyways, so gypsy culture is known for their creativity. They're musical. They sing. They paint. They create. There's lots of colors in that traditional clothing that to this day they wear. So a lot of creativity. One fun part about gypsy culture is that they even attract their future husbands and wives by the way they dance.
Wow.
Yeah, so
I would not imagine myself doing that. My husband would be like, this is not attractive.
Well, I actually did have to, I didn't grow up in it. At a young age, I went to the orphanage. So that was, my sister, older sister, a little bit grew up in it, but I didn't. I got to the orphanage, and something that I had a talent of singing, and I ended up diving into all the creative kind of life. My orphanage was specialized specifically in creativity. And so there was a special kind of, they send kids, before you go to the orphanage in Ukraine, they evaluate you and they send you to different orphanages. My orphanage was specifically for creative people. So I was in a choir that was internationally known, all over Europe, which was from my orphanage. Every year we had to defend the title, and then I had a solo career that I was going and performing all over Ukraine, and in competitions, and my sister as well. That was same thing. She was super talented. So
do you felt we're gonna go back and talk about a little bit about how do you navigate in your feelings, because as being adopted and myself, and but I was never in the streets, right?
Yeah.
It touches me beyond words, because I kind of get it, but not fully get it, because it's still different. How do you navigate in your inside of you being a child and have no one look up to you, like no one truly providing to you or giving you direction? How do you navigate that in your heart today?
Yeah, and that brings me, obviously that brings me to a point now. Today, I'm in a different spot. I'm adopted, and for me, I life to Jesus. So, I realize that in the middle of even darkest hours of my life, and I've experienced things at a very young age that I don't wish on my enemies, but I realized that there was someone with me, always beside me, and that was Jesus, and so that's the way I navigate. I don't have bitterness even towards the people who may have done things to me, or because my faith has set me free from that.
And so you felt the redemption. There was like a redemption in you that you felt like it's okay.
Yeah, and redemption, and with my family as well. My family definitely, my adopted family created redemption story, and in my life, there was a moment, just an example where I was, at my house, and my mom making food for us, and she made this beautiful dinner, and I hide the food in order to have it for later, because see, I was an orphan. I got adopted, but I was inside still orphan. And my parents had to teach me, and there's a journey of consistency with them that, hey, you will always have more than enough. Like, we have enough. And if we eat this whole food that we made, we will go and make more, so, and that created a healing process for me, because when you growing up having never enough, and that's the orphan mentality. You have never enough. And the reality is people can have millions of dollars and still have an orphan spirit of never enough. Wow. So that kind of changed everything for me. When I realized that there is enough, there's more than enough, and I am enough.
Oh, this is so good. This is so good, because what you're sharing is such a revelation. It's such a deeply thing that says people still can struggle with the orphan mentality, even though they have enough.
Yeah.
They still feel the fear of the future. What if? What if?
Yeah.
But when was that you were adopted? How old are you?
So I was actually I'm 28 now. I was adopted at 16. I was actually 15, and I was adopted a week before I turned 16. In America, you're not allowed to be adopted at 16 years old.
Right.
It was by the grace of God that, my parents things just came out where they'd be able to, at the last minute, adopt me, and
Wow.
that was also a healing journey for me, because my parents fought for me. My case wasn't easy case, and they just fought for me. And I knew that this is my family, because family fights for each other. So that's the kind of the healing journey that started there. Because there was moments where I was like, I'm not going to be adopted, because it was so impossible, So, but yeah.
I don't know if you know that I interviewed this woman named Amira, that she lived in an orphanage until 14. She got adopted at 14, and she's one of the artists that work at our studio, and she's incredible.
Wow.
She had the same struggles of, she didn't even know she could get clean clothes next day and small things like that. And she had to her family had to be like, it's okay. You will have, it's okay to change your clothes. And you see her today, she's absolutely joyful and an incredible talent artist. But that thing about having a family that comes and says, no, we're going to believe in you. And you're going to be who God created you to be.
Yeah.
She came into this podcast. She gave her interview, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really matter, right, where you come from. Stories like ourselves, but you can decide inside of your heart to choose forgiveness and healing, and it's like a new chapter. It's like the beginning of the book might be a little sad, but it's a new chapter. So where are you today?
Yeah, absolutely. Something that I learned, someone told me once, he said, I had a moment with God where, I was thinking about all of the stuff that happened to me. And it's so easy to look to your past, and even make some excuses, for the way you feel, But I just heard God speak to me, to my heart so clearly. He said, Elliot, your pain can be your platform, or it can be your prison, And I just chose to be a platform, And today I am a pastor of the church, one of the pastors of the church. I am engaged to a beautiful woman who loves Jesus, who is super creative, probably one of the most creative humans I know. Life is amazing. I am excited for the married life. So, and her name is Sarah Tyler. Me and her went on a journey of creativity and passionate about it, and yeah.
That's excited. So when you say like you guys are, creating things, can you share like a little bit of like, what do you guys creative process? How do you guys do that together?
Yeah, so, it's amazing because like you heard, I was in creative community all my life.
Right.
I understood sometimes you're so creative that you don't even know necessarily, like you're just going through the motions. That's something that I do,
right?
But when I started dating Sarah, I realized that that's something that I am, and one thing is like, for a long time, I'm in ministry and I'm traveling the world, and I have this amazing things, my main thing, I'm speaking in front of people, large groups of people, and it's amazing. But I was like, I don't want to be like, I'm not going to be creative, because I didn't understand what creativity is. I started dating Sarah. And Sarah is this woman who plays multiple instruments, paints, like she's like has this relationship with creativity. And she speaks about creativity as a person. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And me and her, as I started dating, I was like, I want to discover what is she talking about? What is she talking about this creative world, this creativity? And I realized that creativity is part of my inheritance because God is creator, and how it started for me. She gave me a book, a poetry book, and in one setting, I read the whole book, and I literally felt that I can only describe it, is that I felt the presence of creativity, and I knew that I can actually write something right now in that moment creative, and I wrote my first poetry, and I sent it to Sarah, and she's like, oh my gosh, this is actually really excellent, and from there on, it never stopped. One thing that I realized in my journey with creativity is that you get around people who are creative, you will start creating, because I believe, me and Sarah, we have a poetry that we post our poetry, our creative ideas and different things like that. And Sarah had this encounter with her best friend where she misspelled genius, and her friend was making fun of her, and she heard herself saying that, well, genius isn't spelled correctly. And I realized, and as we start going on this journey, we realized that every person has genius inside of them. Okay. And sometimes what we think genius is actually, it's actually just a blanket statement that we think that fit in a box, but there's many more geniuses, in different shapes and sizes and attributes and expressions, so we start going on this journey of what is genius in every person looks like in creative world. And so for us, it looks like sometimes, getting around each other, getting around creative community, and almost, I believe that most things are caught than taught, so that was my journey with creativity, and I believe as far as with creativity, I don't believe creativity is a feeling. I don't have to feel creative. Creativity is actually inside of me. I get to access whenever I want it.
I love that. I love that. Somebody just putting words what I believe it. Because everybody's like, I'm having a block. No, it's already inside of you.
That's right. And I am all about, listen, I prefer to feel it. I prefer to have a great atmosphere. But like joy in my life, I get to access joy and creativity anytime, because the reality is, I can give you example. Often in creative world, we think it's this picture of we diving into the water and we hold a breath and we get and see what we can get in that moment, as long as we can hold our breath, and then we come out and we put it in, that's it. But the reality is we actually created to breathe underwater.
Woo!
And so, I believe that if we realize that, I believe that we will see actually the world change in every sphere of influence, in business arena, in our churches, in our schools, because the reality is creativity has this universal thread, and I think every person needs to realize that they're creative. Unfortunately, we are indoctrinated from the young age in our schools that we are not creative, and it's empowered by shame, and because that if you make a mistake, right away they say, oh, you must not be creative. If you in a process of learning and discovering creativity, there's people coming like, oh, you must not creative, and the shame comes in, and shame is the biggest enemy of creativity, so that's why for me, when I start with creating anything, I start with this: I am enough.
It's so good.
So
that is so good, because a lot of some of the people that create, they actually get like panic attack about releasing their creativities because it's attaching to shame. They're afraid that what if it's not good enough? Then people would judge me and I'll feel the shame of it.
Absolutely.
But I love the way you put this. I absolutely love. I knew you were brilliant.
Thank you.
Wait a second. There's many, many books inside of you about different topics and creativity. But one thing I feel that you're really, really good at it is your sphere of leadership. I feel like you have this message and you have something to share on that topic. We're probably going to have to bring you back with Sarah again.
Yes, that would be amazing.
I want to deep dive in and I want to breathe underwater in this creative topic. But I wanted to ask you a thing about leadership, because leadership in the creative life, or leadership in life, in life itself.
Right.
How do you see you with the past that you had in living in America? How do you see you as a leader? How do you what is leadership for you?
That's a great question. And I think to even finish the last thought and start with this thought, with this quote that I think will communicate this really well. One of my favorite quotes is by Rosa Parks. And she said, without vision, people perish. Without courage, dreams die. And I think with creativity, you need courage. And I think with leadership, you need courage. Okay. So for me, I mean, on leadership, man, I think of leadership as influence. You influencing people, and one of the biggest thing is, I think that those with the most hope will have the most influence.
Kaboots, drop the mic. Oh my God.
Yes.
I'll drop this Yeti. Drop the mic.
That's right. No, it's true. In my years of leading people and being a leader and discovery, and I'm still in discovery, and I'm seeking for wisdom and discovery. And I think we have a lot of leaders who, here's the reality is, I think people don't follow crowds or money. They follow courage and hope. And I think, there is so much of that. To be a leader, you have to have a followers. Okay. If you don't have a followers, you're not leading anyone. Okay. So, but the reality is people follow those that actually see the future, who build the future, right. Because we as people, we want a greater future. We want hope, and I think we are in that day and age, we are moved by fear, and fear is a bad motivator.
Right.
Fear is a bad motivator, because if you're motivated by fear, you'll have to keep people in fear to motivate them.
Right.
And eventually, the reality is eventually fear paralyzes.
Right.
And you become ineffective.
Right.
So that's kind of my style of leadership. I really believe that we need to have an empowering leadership. I believe that even in the corporate world, in business world, I think we need to come out of a punishment culture, to a discipline culture. There's a difference between punishment and discipline. Punishment says, hey, you are wrong. It's connected to your identity. You are a failure. Right. Discipline said you made a mistake, and you get to clean up that mistake. I tell people that I lead, I said, listen, I want you to take risk and make mistakes. But if you make a mistake, you have a responsibility if you make a mess, you have a responsibility to clean up your mess. Okay? So I just, in my mentor, her name is Haley. She told me something once that impacted my life and brought me a lot of freedom. She said, Elliot, I was in a position that I was uncomfortable very much, was not my main giftings, but she put me in that position on purpose. And she could see I was afraid, I was uncomfortable, I didn't want to do it, I didn't want to hurt people. And she said this to me, she said, Elliot, I'd rather your grass grow and me coming behind you and mow the grass than for your grass not to grow at all. Wow. And that brings me to a final kind of thought on this is with the leadership is I very much believe that we need to, if we want a successful leadership culture in any environment, church environment, business environment, corporate environment, is we need to transition from corporate leadership to what I call fatherhood leadership. Our generation longs to belong. Our generation longs to belong to a family. And we see it now. There's corporations now that are catching this. There's, that's why they're creating unlimited vacation time. You can work from home 7 days a week as long as you get your work done. Why? Because they communicated, hey, you belong to a family, and if you're part of the family, you're actually responsible for this family to succeed. Right. And if you have that mindset, you're not going to. And what they found out is that people take less vacation when you have a limited vacation than when you give 2 weeks of vacation a year. Right. Because the heart is behind it is different. Oh, wow. That's a style of leadership.
I want to say this to you. I'm going to buy all your books. And I want to have enough money to give them away as a gift. And I'll help promote your books because they're going to be good.
Thank you so much.
Ready. The world is ready.
Thank you so much.
There's so much knowledge. There's so much incredible, deeply revelation as we talk.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to even stop. But
I hear that. It's good. Thank you so much.
No, it's amazing. But you mentioned different quotes, but what is the one quote right now that is like leaping in your heart, jump into your heart and say, this is really, it's in my mind at this season of my life. What is it?
Oh, the quote that I've been meditating really on is by Winston Churchill, and it's, the history will be kind to me, for I intended to write it.
Say it again.
The history will be kind to me, for I intended to write it.
Oh, jump the yachty again.
Yes.
It is so good.
Yes. Yeah. It's definitely been, in this season of my life, I am extremely busy, just all of these things coming against me. And it feels like sometimes that life happening to me instead of me happening to life.
Right.
And I love, one of the things that I think that if we're going to have any impact in the world, if we going to be great leaders, if we have to have high level of belief that we in the right place at the right time, and we were born for such a time as this. And that's what Winston Churchill, and if you study his history, he stood on the rooftops as German Nazi were bombing Britain, and he would be screaming this. History will be kind to me, for I intended to write it. You can't kill me. I have a purpose. And I think I'm just in a season of learning that, I can be history teller or history maker of my life. So, and I think it's a conscious choice that you make. It's not a magical thing that happens. It's a choice that you make.
Yes.
Every day.
Yes. You tell people, I'm writing it. People will know, listen, people will know the stories that you lived because you are writing them. And you want the stories to be really good.
Yes.
What happened is when somebody is really mean to me, I always say thank you, because actually you're making the chapter really good.
Yes.
When I say like, okay, if I had somebody saying, you are, I had to suffer racism growing up in Brazil because my family was white and I was a little brown, as you notice,
Yeah.
And people will be like, you are this and this and that. And to me, it's like, thank you.
Yes.
Because you're giving me a voice to tell people that they are perfect for what they are created for. And that there's nothing wrong with me. And there's nothing wrong with you. So thank you for giving me a really good chapter to write about.
That is true. And it's so isn't it true that it's so amazing, because I think if we grasp what you just communicated, Rebecca, is that you're saying to people, you will never have that, you will never control my love, my trust. You don't have that much power over me, because it would be easy for me now to mistrust people, to be bitter at people, to be hopeless. And you say, no, you actually don't have that much power over me.
Right.
And I am in control of my hope, and I am in charge of my heart, and I'm in charge of my love. And you don't have that much power in my life.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I had a feeling this interview was going to be amazing, but was beyond amazing.
Thank you so much.
You gotta listen to this. You have to listen to this one time, twice. You have to listen to this many, many times. And you have to still write me a message on Instagram and say, bring him back. Okay? Because there's so much knowledge in this for life. Now, where can people find you, Elliot?
So yes, you can find me at GNS official.us. That's my Instagram and Sarah's Instagram account. And from there, you will see all the information, our blog and Facebook and everything. But the best way to see our stuff we do leadership, relationship, poetry, creative writing stuff. And that's at GNSofficial.us.
That's exciting. I have a lot of people that, as you're speaking, that I want you to know, that I want to introduce to you, because I think that it's going to be a win-win situation of so many of them. So thank you for being here. This is awesome. I am so privileged to get to actually see you. I heard many great things about you, but I get to see you, hear from you, and you have not just an amazing story, but you have an amazing future. And I'm excited to watch and see everything that you're going to do. And I will be right there ready with my card to buy the books and invest in the things that you're going to do as a creator, as a person, as a husband, as a father, and everything where God is going to place you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast. It's so nice to meet you. And I'm excited to hear this. And I hope this will bless a lot of people.
I'm sure it will. Thank you, Elliot.
Thank you, Rebecca. Bye.
Jump, you're ready now. Jump, the sky's the limit. Jump, jump, jump. Leave it all behind and jump. Just go for it. Jump, if you can dream it. Jump, jump, jump. Together we can do all things.
The history will be kind to me, for I intended to write it.